idcwoodcraft.com.
Hello, my CNC brother or sister. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and welcome to this CNC business video, kind of a part 2 video, a follow-up from a video I put out the other day about why you need to raise your prices on your CNC projects. And basically that video talked about customer perception, that you want to raise your prices because when people see higher prices outside of what I call the commodity range, which is where everybody else likes to price their stuff, they perceive it as more value. What happens when you do this, when you raise your prices above what the masses are charging for their stuff, is you position yourself in a different way. So I used the example of cutting boards. And if you look on Etsy, which I hope that you do, and do a search for cutting boards, you're going to see a lot of beautiful cutting boards in the price range of, say, about $30 to $80, which most of them have no business being that low. However, they're priced there because there's this idea that most people have when they see that, oh, I've got to price my stuff in that range in order to sell stuff. And it's wrong. It is absolutely wrong to think that way. Because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in with all the competition. You become the noise based on price. When I say the noise, it's market noise. Everybody's in that range, and number one rule is when a prospective customer is looking at that, at the cutting boards in that price range, they have this psychological perception of value that since all these cutting boards are priced in that range, this must be the average cutting board. And that's why I say the commodity range. And I hope you can't stand that word, that if you're pricing your stuff in the range that everybody else is pricing, that you are a commodity. You are just another cutting board. What you want to do is get your prices much higher than the commodity range. If the high is 80, then get yourself up to 150 on your product. People are afraid to do that because they think they're going to lose business. Or on the contrary, you're actually going to work less and make more. You are going to be approaching a different customer. When I'm saying this, just jack your prices up, some people may think, oh, well, now I'm ripping the market off. No, you are going after a different customer. You're going after a customer that is higher value in themselves. They are the ones that don't want to buy an $80 cutting board because it's in the commodity range. They are looking for the ones that stand out, that are perceived to be higher value. And the things that's perceived to be a higher value is the ones that are priced higher, outside the commodity range. So with that kind of idea in mind, I got a comment on that video that I want to address here to help you understand about this whole pricing thing of getting your prices up there. And there's other things you have to do. There's a science to business and there's a science to business success, and this is one of them. So before I get into this comment, the whole foundation of this whole thing is the customers that are paying more and looking for higher dollar items have a higher value in themselves. And so you have to be able to get yourself in a position to market to that person, whereas you're not marketing in the noise. I can't stress this enough. If you are in the range, the average range of what other people are selling, of whatever it is that you're making, you're going to do average, and you're going to be amongst the biggest level of competition because everybody else is in that price range. So this whole video kind of has to do with, well, it doesn't kind of, it has to do with value perception, and it has to do with value in yourself. What I said in that video, another thing was, if you see everybody priced in that range, and I'm telling you, get your prices outside of that range, up nice and high, and you are super resistant to that. You're like afraid, oh, I'm going to lose sales. This has to do with you and your sense of inner value, and not being willing to take a risk of something that you have to learn how to do in business. Okay, so I want to talk about this comment that I got based on that video, because it talked about your own value. So it came from Mike, and he said, I believe to add value to oneself, okay, this is about adding value to yourself. You have to see your own value in your product worthy of being outside of the commodity range, up above it. Okay, so it has to do with self-value. If you're afraid to do it, your value is too low. He said, I believe that to add value to oneself or have a higher value within yourself, perhaps we should improve our product accordingly, so our product raises above the cheap or all the same type of group and starts to be more unique. It stands out and starts to be less comparable to the rest out there, and therefore it can be free to define value on its own. So what he is saying, just to redefine this statement, he's saying maybe we need to be doing a little bit more to our products to make them stand out. Not necessarily. If you're making a cutting board that looks as beautiful as the ones in the range in Etsy, and you just price it higher simply by that one action, you've already raised the value of it. Now, but here's what happens with this whole thing about self-value, that when you raise your own self-value, then by default of what's inside this higher value, that you will increase the value that you're providing to your customer. You'll just default and start doing different things. You'll make sure it's packaged nicer. You'll make sure you write a little thank you card and throw in a piece of candy in there, or maybe some fluff or something to make it like opening a Christmas present. You will do this by default when you start to raise your value. What I've said, I'm going to kind of backtrack to this raising your price. If you're afraid to raise your price, just try it. It's not the end of the world if you price so high that you're pricing yourself out of the market. Probably what you're doing is you're just in a place where the market that you want to target isn't hanging out at. But the idea is you have to get up there, and when you make that first sale at that higher price, your own sense of worth and self-value will increase, and you will start to redo things in a different way because your mindset, your self-value has changed. You'll do things in a more valuable way. I want to share a story with you to lay this idea of value down so you understand the type of customer that I want you to go after. In my old days, I was always looking for cheap, right? The inexpensive stuff to save money. And so I would go to the discount stores or the commodity stores. Recently, I went to go buy a suit because of a high-end event that I am going to up in Vancouver, Canada. And I wanted to make sure I got a good suit. So the first place I stopped at was at a suit store called the Men's Warehouse. And the minute I stepped in, I didn't feel right. I felt, honestly, way deep inside, like I was stepping into a low quality store. But I walked around. I'm looking for pinstripes, okay? I'm walking around and I'm not seeing any pinstripes, but I am seeing the color choices that I want. So I'm looking at them and I'm feeling it and I'm going, okay, this is cool. And then the clerk comes up to me. And the clerk, now mind you, I'm in a suit store. My mindset is set on, I am going to a high value event, therefore I have to look valuable in that event, right? So I have to have value stuff. The clerk comes up to me in this suit store wearing jeans and a polo shirt that was wrinkled and not tucked in. His beard was not trimmed and his hair was not combed. And the minute I saw him, I felt cheap. I didn't like that feeling. I walked out of that store and I went to the next suit store. There I felt better. The store was laid out better. The first thing I looked at were the guys that worked there. One of them was wearing a jacket with jeans, but his hair was tied back. He was cleaner. The other guy that worked there was wearing a suit. So I felt more comfortable, and the store was laid out better. I wanted to go to, it still wasn't enough. I wanted to step in the store. It was brightly lit. Everything was placed out very nicely, and the guys were wearing black suits, stood up tall, walked up, knew exactly what they were doing. I wanted to be in the store where there were $3,000 to $5,000 suits, but there wasn't one around. So I had to deal with this one, but at least I felt better. The quality of the store was laid out better. It goes like this. This Men's Warehouse thing, I don't know if it's commodity range or Walmart range, I don't know. But the idea is, if you are priced in your commodity range for cutting boards, I'm not buying you. I'm not buying your product, because personally inside, I am looking for the things that are meeting my price range that I have set myself. For a suit, okay, I spent $1,200 for the suit and a couple of shirts and some shoes. I didn't care about the price. I was looking at value, but price was definitely a reflection of that. The jacket alone cost $500, right? So this is the kind of customer you want to go after. And here's the other thing why you want this kind of customer, why you want to get your price up into the range of the customer that has higher value in themselves, is because they don't complain. They do not complain like the commodity range does. The commodity range is going to come back to you and say, they're going to find fault, and they're going to want you to fix it, and they're wanting you, when fault really isn't there. It's because their mind is looking for it. This is what people do in the commodity range. And God forbid you sell to somebody who's below the commodity range, who's trying to negotiate the $3 off of an $80 item, right? Who's not going to buy it anyway, right? Because they don't buy $30 cutting boards. They buy $10 and less. The point is, you want to start learning how to sell to someone like me, who expects to pay more, right? So coming back full circle to this question that I started this whole video on, your own sense of value is pushing you into the commodity range. Oh, I've got to be in the competitive range of where everybody else is at. And that does nothing but set you up with a lot higher competition, because you're competing with everybody in that range, which is about 97%, well, about 85% of the businesses out there. So when you raise your price and you make that first sale, your sense of value automatically jumps up, because you realize, oh, I can do this, and people do want it. And you have this new sense of value and start to just realize this, that there is a market out there at this higher dollar range. And when you do that, you can sell less, make more, and you can pay much more attention to your product. Someone even commented on that video, go buy the $30 cutting board that looks beautiful anyway, take it, personalize it, and sell it for $150. When it comes down to it, there are two things that determine how successful you will be in business. Number one is how you value yourself, and how you're willing to learn and grow, how much you are willing to learn and grow. So it's kind of two things in one. The second is how you treat the customer and how customer-centric you are, as opposed to being focused on you and I want to get my business going, I need to make some money. Your customer doesn't care about what you want, right? They care about what they want. So it's so important to understand what their values are. That's why I use something like this. It's a sheet that I use to write out my customer. What do they want? What are their values? What are they afraid of? What do they want to achieve? So I can start to learn about them, because all business, my business at least, IDC Woodcraft, is about you. If I don't make it about you and it's more about me, guess where my business is going? Down the toilet. Okay? Coming back full circle. Raise your prices. Get outside of that, of the commodity range where everybody else is pricing their stuff. because you're just competing with everybody and you literally have less business. You get up into the higher range, you will have more business when you start to understand how to approach that customer, and you will make more income, and you'll work less, and you'll feel better about yourself. You'll be able to start creating more value for those customers, and that way you create repeat customers. Here's the other thing. People in the commodity market, they aren't repeat customers. Rarely are they repeat customers because they don't appreciate. We're dealing with people that have the same value level as we do, and they don't appreciate what we do. They don't care how much work we put into the stuff. They care about what they want, but they don't appreciate that we put stuff in. When you value yourself, you value the person, and then you will start to, as you increase your value level, you will run into people that will also appreciate the same thing, and they're willing to pay more, just like I am with the suits. I'm not an $80 cutting board guy. I'm a $150, $200 cutting board guy, maybe higher. I'm getting there, right? So we always have room to grow. For CNC business, I also recommend that you join the CNC Entrepreneurs Facebook group. That's a group I formed to help other CNC entrepreneurs like yourself get input from other CNC entrepreneurs, to mastermind, to learn what other people are doing that are successful. Down in the description is the link to that and a couple other links. Link for that first video. Make sure you watch this, and make sure you look at yourself and try to push your prices up. And if you have a really hard time, understand that it's about you, that you're resisting getting out of the commodity space. And we always justify it in our minds. Oh, I'm going to lose sales, or people are going to complain. You know, you're just raising your value to a new level of customer, and that's exactly what you want. Give me a thumbs up and a comment down below what you think about this, and I will talk to you later. Happy CNCing.
idcwoodcraft.com.